The words hung in the air like smoke, suffocating and toxic. I sat at my mother's ornate dining table, the same one I'd helped her pick out 5 years ago, and tried to process what she just said. "I'm giving custody of my estate to Emma," she repeated, referring to my sister Rachel's 19-year-old daughter. "She's more deserving of the family legacy." My name is Alexandra Mitchell, and at 42, I was watching 15 years of dedication crumble in a single moment. 15 years of being there for every doctor's appointment, every emergency, every middle-of-the-night panic attack since my father's death. 15 years while my younger sister Rachel gallivanted across Europe, sending the occasional postcard and making excuses for why she couldn't come home. More deserving? I finally managed, my voice surprisingly steady. "And how exactly did you reach that conclusion, Mom?" She took a delicate sip of her wine, her perfectly manicured hands steady despite the bomb she just dropped. "Emma has the right qualities for preserving our family's standing. She's young, socially connected, the kind of person who can maintain our position in society." I almost laughed. Emma, Rachel's daughter, who'd spent more time on Instagram than she had visiting her grandmother, was suddenly the torchbearer of our family legacy. "And what about the last 15 years?" I asked. "What about every time you needed someone? Every hospital visit? Every holiday you would have spent alone because Rachel was too busy with her spiritual journey through the French Riviera?" My mother's face tightened. "That's different, Alexandra. You did what any daughter should do. But Emma, she has vision. She understands the importance of appearances, of maintaining our social circle. You've always been so practical." Practical. The word felt like an insult, though she used it to describe me my entire life. Practical Alexandra, who became a surgeon instead of marrying rich. Practical Alexandra, who chose to live 15 minutes away to care for her widowed mother instead of chasing dreams across continents. Does Rachel know about this decision? I asked, though I already knew the answer. My sister had perfected the art of selective involvement, present for the benefits, absent for the responsibilities. "She thinks it's wonderful," Mom replied, brightening. "She says Emma can't wait to restore the house to its former glory. The girl has such wonderful taste." Of course she did. Emma had wonderful taste in spending other people's money, a trait she'd inherited from her mother. The same mother who'd borrowed hundreds of thousands from our parents over the years. Money that was always for some urgent investment opportunity that never quite materialized. I stood up, smoothing my slacks with trembling hands. "That's your choice to make, Mom. It's your estate." She looked surprised by my calm reaction. Maybe she'd expected tears, pleading, the kind of dramatic scene Rachel would have thrown. But I'd learned long ago that with my mother, emotions were simply ammunition. "You understand, don't you, dear?" she said, her voice taking on that patronizing tone she perfected over the years. "It's not that I don't appreciate what you've done. You've been very helpful. But Emma has such potential. Helpful, like a housekeeper or a nurse. Not like a daughter who'd rearranged her entire life to be there whenever she called. Not like someone who'd held her through panic attacks and depression after Dad died, while Rachel sent thoughts and prayers via text message." "I understand perfectly," I said, picking up my purse. "Is there anything else you need before I go?" She waved her hand dismissively. No. Though to remember, we have the Hendersons' charity gala next weekend. Emma's already picked out the most beautiful gown. You'll try to dress appropriately this time, won't you?" I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. "Mom told me about the estate. Isn't it wonderful? Emma will do amazing things with the place. No hard feelings, right?" I deleted the message without responding. Rachel had always been like this, floating through life on a cloud of privilege and selective memory, expecting everyone to celebrate her good fortune while forgetting her perpetual absence. That night, as I sat in my home office reviewing patient files, I thought about the irony of it all. I'd spent my career as a transplant surgeon, literally saving lives, while Emma's biggest achievement was reaching 100,000 followers on Instagram. Yet somehow she was more deserving of our family's legacy. My phone buzzed again. Mom this time. "Don't forget to pick up my new prescription tomorrow. And could you stop by to help me organize the summer wardrobe? Emma has such wonderful ideas for updating the closet space." I stared at the message, feeling something shift inside me. For 15 years, I'd been at her beck and call, rearranging surgeries and canceling plans whenever she needed me. I'd done it out of love, out of duty, and maybe out of some lingering hope that she'd finally see me, really see me, for who I was. But now, looking at her casual request after everything that had happened at dinner, I realized something. I was done being practical Alexandra, the reliable one who picked up the pieces while others claimed the rewards. I typed out a response. I have surgery scheduled tomorrow. You should ask Emma to help with the closet. After all, she has such wonderful ideas. Then I turned off my phone and poured myself a glass of wine. Let them figure it out for themselves for once. Little did I know, this small act of rebellion would set in motion a chain of events that would shake our family to its core. Because 2 months later, my mother would face a crisis that all her money, all her social connections, and all of Emma's wonderful ideas couldn't solve. And when that moment came, practical Alexandra would suddenly become very important indeed. The call came at 3 a.m., 2 months after the estate announcement. I was already awake, reviewing charts for an early morning surgery, when my phone lit up with Rachel's number. "Mom's in the hospital," she said, her voice shaking. "Her kidneys are failing. How soon can you get here?" I closed my eyes, letting out a slow breath. "I'm in the middle of pre-op reviews, Rachel. I have surgery scheduled." "Are you serious?" she hissed. "This is Mom we're talking about. Emma's hysterical, and I'm stuck in Milan. I can't get a flight out until tomorrow night." Of course she was in Milan. She was always somewhere. Paris, Rome, Barcelona, anywhere but here where she was actually needed. "The hospital has excellent nephrologists," I said, keeping my voice professional. "They'll take good care of her." "Alexandra," Rachel's voice cracked. "The doctors, they're saying she needs a transplant. Soon, we need you. You're the only one who knows how to handle these things." I thought about all the times I'd handled things while Rachel and Emma enjoyed the benefits of my practical nature. The irony wasn't lost on me. Now that there was a real crisis, suddenly being a doctor wasn't so pedestrian. "I'll stop by after my surgeries," I said finally. When I arrived at the hospital 12 hours later, still in my scrubs, I found Emma sprawled across the waiting room chairs, scrolling through her phone. "Finally," she said, barely looking up. "Grandma's been asking for you." I walked past her into my mother's room. The sight stopped me short. The woman who had always been so carefully put together, who had treated life like an endless social event, lay pale and small against the white hospital sheets. "Alexandra?" Her voice was weak, her designer pajamas replaced by a hospital gown. "Is that you?" "Yes, Mom. I'm here." She reached for my hand, her grip fragile. "The doctors, they say I need a transplant, but the waiting list, I can't wait that long." I looked at her charts, though I already knew what they would say. End-stage renal disease. Critical condition. Immediate transplant recommended. "Have they discussed living donation options?" I asked, slipping into doctor mode. "Yes, but," she hesitated. "Emma's not a match. We checked first thing. And Rachel, even if she were here, she's not a match either," I finished. I knew this because I'd tested both Rachel and Emma years ago when they finally shown up for our father's funeral. A simple blood test had confirmed what I'd long suspected. Rachel wasn't my father's biological daughter. It explained a lot about my parents' marriage and about my mother's constant need to compensate for her guilty secret by indulging Rachel's every whim. Mom looked away, and I wondered if she was thinking about that too. "I could be tested," I said quietly. Her eyes snapped back to me, hope flickering across her face. "You would do that? After everything?" I met her gaze steadily. "I'm a match, Mom. I had myself tested years ago, after Dad died. I knew this day might come." She started to cry, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. "Oh, Alexandra, my practical, reliable Alexandra." "Don't," I said, holding up a hand. "This isn't a moment for sentimentality. This is a medical decision, and there are things we need to discuss." She wiped her eyes, nodding. "Of course. Anything. First, the estate reversal. Everything goes back to the way it was before your announcement 2 months ago." Her face fell slightly. "But Emma will be fine," I cut in. "She has her Instagram empire. Second, Rachel's debts to the family trust. They're called in. All of them. No more enabling her spiritual journeys while I handle the real work." "Alexandra, please." "I'm not finished," I continued calmly. "Third, you'll start attending therapy, real therapy. Not those social club counseling sessions you use as coffee dates. You need to address your issues with Dad's death, with Rachel's paternity, with all of it. She stared at me, shock written across her face. For the first time, she was seeing me not as practical, reliable Alexandra, but as someone who had held real power all along. Power I'd chosen not to wield until now. How long have you known? She whispered. About Rachel? Long enough, I replied. I'm a doctor, Mom. These things aren't hard to figure out when you know what to look for. She was quiet for a long moment, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. And these are your conditions for being my donor? Yes. That seems rather cold. I laughed, the sound sharp in the hospital room. Cold? Like announcing over dinner that you're giving everything to a teenager who's never lifted a finger to help you? Like treating your own daughter like hired help for 15 years. She flinched. I'm not being cold, Mom. I'm being practical. Isn't that what you always wanted me to be? 2 days later, Rachel finally arrived from Milan, bursting into the hospital room in a cloud of designer perfume and drama. Mom, I came as soon as I could. The flights were absolutely terrible, and she stopped short when she saw me sitting calmly by our mother's bed, still in my scrubs. Oh, you're here. I live here, Rachel, remember. Mom cleared her throat. Rachel, sit down. We need to talk about some changes. I watched as my mother explained the new arrangements. Rachel's face went from confused to horrified as she realized her free-flowing funding was about to end. This isn't fair, she exploded. You can't just change everything because Alexandra is guilting you about a kidney. No, Mom said quietly, and I heard real steel in her voice for the first time in years. I'm changing everything because I should have done it long ago. Your sister, Alexandra, has been the only one really here for this family, and I've been too blind to see it. Rachel stormed out, already dialing Emma to share the outrageous news. I stood to leave as well. I had pre-op preparations to complete. Alexandra, Mom called after me. Thank you. Not just for this, for everything. I paused at the door. I'm not doing it for thanks, Mom. I'm doing it because it's right. Because family isn't about who takes the best Instagram photos or maintains the right social connections. It's about who shows up when it matters. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. As I was being prepped, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. Sometimes it takes a crisis to reveal the truth about people, about who they are, what they value, and what they're willing to do for those they claim to love. 6 months later, Mom was fully recovered and faithfully attending therapy. Rachel had retreated to Europe, no longer able to fund her luxurious lifestyle on the family dime. Emma's Instagram followers had apparently been devastated by her tragic loss of inheritance, but she'd managed to monetize their sympathy into a sponsorship deal with a luxury tea brand. And me? I was still practical, reliable Alexandra. But now those weren't insults, they were badges of honor. Because sometimes the most practical thing you can do is stand up for what's right, even if it takes a failing kidney to make people see it. Mom and I were having dinner at her house, our weekly tradition now, when she smiled at me over her wine glass. You know, she said, I've been thinking about what you said in the hospital, about showing up when it matters. I raised an eyebrow, waiting. You've been showing up your whole life, haven't you? While I was busy chasing some ridiculous society dream, you were actually building a legacy. Saving lives, making a difference. Better late than never to realize it, I replied, but I was smiling too. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even or proving people wrong. Sometimes it's about standing firm in your truth until they have no choice but to see it for themselves. Even if it takes a kidney to get there.